Hey there everybody, hope your day's going well. Jacared Old School Gaming here, and welcome back to another Wild Wednesday. This time, it has been a very, very long time since I had a look at a Mario theory, specifically Super Mario World. The last one I did, specifically Super Mario World, was on the origins of that ghost ship, which was the way from Chocolate Island to the Valley of Bowser. And that was also by DrWily, and this one is also... This is a slightly different theory. The full title is Mario Theory, the origin and evolution of Yoshi's Island and Dinosaur Land. How did the Yoshi evolve on this place? I think that should be an interesting theory to take a look at. So, without any further ado, let's get into this.
Dinosaur Land. This place is inhabited by many different types of dinosaurs, like Dino Rhinos, Dino Torches, and of course Yoshis. But how did this happen? Where did this land filled with dinosaurs come from, and why don't we see these dinosaurs in the Mushroom Kingdom? Well, I think I've found an answer to this.
Okay, well, I'm here to listen and give any potential counter-arguments that I can think of, which sometimes I can, sometimes I do have a hard time actually thinking of counter-arguments, but yeah, looking forward to what you have to say.
Dinosaur Land is a big land that is the setting of Super Mario World and is home to many species of animals. Yoshis live on Yoshi's Island and other parts of this land. This is also the land where they were first seen and originally came from. It contains a mountain, a forest, an underground valley, and more. Bowser and the Koopa Troop took over Dinosaur Land and trapped the Yoshis in eggs. He then built a castle in the underground valley and took Princess Peach with him. Mario and Luigi eventually defeat Bowser and his army and restore Dinosaur Land to its previous state. In Super Mario World, Dinosaur Land is more or less devoid of culture and even people. Although it's known to be at least partially populated by Yoshis, who are known to be able to speak, but have not developed a distinctive established culture.
I think that's fine. Civilization is overrated in most cases. And besides, the Yoshis definitely live in peace. It was Bowser and his minions that caused a bunch of disruptions, and it wasn't just the one castle in the Valley of Bowser. There's was it 7 or no 8 total castles? I think. Yeah, I believe so. But because all of Bowser's children do get their own castle and essentially are just spread throughout the land, because I guess more than just to hinder Mario and Luigi, also to kind of give his children, hey, this is your section of land, you're in charge, roll over this place as you see fit. And he, of course, kidnaps Princess Peach again, but yeah, I guess what I mainly wanted to say is that civilization's overrated. Let the Yoshis live in the wild with their dinosaur cousins and brethren. So yeah, I honestly don't see a problem with that.
Later, in the Yoshi series, Dinosaur Land is shown to have more intelligent inhabitants, because the Yoshis on at least Yoshi's Island built tree-like huts and live together in villages. These games, which give Dinosaur Land much more culture and limited politics, showed that much of the Yoshis trust in the main green Yoshi, and have great togetherness, being able to always depend on each other's help. So they become a real group and work together.
Well, honestly, that sounds a lot better than most human societies. I mean, if all the Yoshis have their own unique role, which is probably in large part due to each unique Yoshi's ability, because the green is kind of more of a baseline, then the blue one can usually fly, and the yellow one can usually stomp the ground, the red one can usually shoot out fireballs. Well, those are just the Yoshis in Super Mario World. I believe other colors have been added since, but like in human society, everyone wants to be in charge. Everyone wants to rule. Whereas some dinosaurs is just, yeah, you're in charge, whatever. It doesn't really matter to them, which honestly sounds a lot better than human society, but I digress.
Now, if we compare Dinosaur Land to, for example, the Mushroom Kingdom, then we can see that certain species are not seen in the Mushroom Kingdom, which we do see in Dinosaur Land. This is strange since the climate and the two lands in general are very similar. And this is not the only weird thing. Dinosaur Land is also behind in almost everything, like housing, culture, technology and more. The Mushroom Kingdom is ahead of them. They have big cities, airplanes, cannons and way more. Take for example the huge castle of Princess Peach. It is surrounded by a moat, but it has a regular bridge instead of a drawbridge connecting it to the other side. A large stained glass window of Peach sits above the entrance, and 4 short towers are at the castle's 4 corners, with a much taller tower in the middle. We don't see anything similar to this built by the inhabitants of Dinosaur Land. But what could be the reason for this big difference in technology and species?
Well, I would say that it's more that the Yoshis are dinosaurs, yes, and they have built a kind of society. It's if you'll allow me to go into like more of a fantasy setting, and technically it is a fantasy story. So, okay, like in any fantasy stories of elves, they usually live in the forest, and they build their houses in the trees, literally, just like so. Depending on the story, it might be like actually inside trees, or it might just be kind of walkways along the trees of the forest. Or hell, even in Lord of the Rings, hobbits build their houses in the hills. So, and that's just how they survive. So maybe with the Yoshis, it's something in that same kind of vein where they don't chop down forests, they don't till the land. They just go, this is the land that we want to live on, so let's build in with the land, instead of trying to shackle the land to our needs. I really hope that makes sense. It's more they want to coexist with nature than try to shackle nature to them.
Maybe something went wrong in the very beginning. Well, we have seen something similar in real life, and it could explain a lot. Like pieces in a giant jigsaw puzzle, continents have split, drifted and merged again many times throughout Earth's history. But what's the mechanism behind these moves? A new study now offers evidence that continents sometimes break along pre-existing lines of weaknesses, created when small chunks of land attach to larger continents.
Okay, so kind of like California along the San Andreas Fault. And I think, I'm not sure if it's still true, I think I heard at one point that there's a theory that at any given time, most of the state of California could just break off and start drifting further away because of that San Andreas Fault. It wouldn't be floating; it would still be technically attached to the ground, but essentially the fault would widen enough to a point to where the ocean would just start pouring in and creating a new channel. And then making California more of a peninsula instead of a land-attached state. I was about to say landlocked. No, not landlocked, still on the ocean. And then, hey, beachfront property in Arizona, right there. So if I'm understanding what you're getting to, the Yoshi's Island part, the pieces of Yoshi's Island used to be part of the main continent where the Mushroom Kingdom is? Is that what you're going for? Maybe?
So the Mushroom Kingdom and Dinosaur Land were probably connected to each other once, but they eventually drifted apart. But what causes this and what would be the effects? Well, the level-sphere, which is the rigid outermost shell of a planet, in other words the crust, is broken up into tectonic plates. The Earth's crust is composed of 7 or 8 major plates and many minor plates. Plate tectonics is a scientific theory that describes the large-scale motion of the Earth's crust. So basically these plates are moving around and shifting constantly. This is thanks to heat from the Earth's core. This builds on the concept of continental drift, which was developed during the first few decades of the 20th century. In the beginning, the world was one big piece of land, and after millions of years, they started to drift apart. So these plates allow continents like Africa and Europe to drift apart or closer to each other.
Isn't it also, like, in a way, the, more than just tectonic shift, but also major events, like the giant meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs, that created a fault line that started separating the main Pangea continent, which is why, like, if you try to take Africa and Brazil and then put them together, they look like they can fit together. And even, like, certain species of dinosaur bones have been found on the eastern coast of South America, and also the western coast of Africa, giving even more evidence that those two things used to touch. Okay, but I have a feeling you're going to go on this for a little bit, but what does it have to do with... Is there some kind of evidence that possibly at one point Dinosaur Island used to be attached to the main continent of the Mushroom Kingdom?
This would explain why Dinosaur Land is not connected to the Mushroom Kingdom. It probably drifted away because of the plate tectonic effect. So this would mean that certain species can't crossbreed with each other. Or that a certain species died out in the Mushroom Kingdom, but not on Dinosaur Island. This would also go for any other technology or advancements, they just wouldn't happen. A good example of this is Australia. Australia consists of a huge variety of animals. A lot of them are only found there on Australia and nowhere else. The high level of native wildlife can be attributed to the continent's long geographic isolation, tectonic plate stability, and the effects of an unusual pattern of climate change. Australia was once part of the southern supercontinent Gondwana, which also included South America, Africa, and more.
Okay, I am liking the geography lesson, and it is at this point, if there's a weird transition to video, maybe a repeated note here or there, the original video I had corrupted, and I didn't realize until I'm damn near 7 minutes, or no, the entire thing is 7 minutes. I'm like almost 5 minutes in. I didn't even notice. So yeah, if there's a weird transition, it's because the original video that I downloaded somehow got corrupted, so now I'm having to go into a different one to continue past the 4 minute and 46 second mark. It did go a little bit beyond, but yeah. Okay, so again, I believe I said this before, but let me repeat myself just because I've spent the past 20 minutes trying to get this fixed, and I did get it fixed, thankfully. But does this have some, how is this connecting, or what evidence is there that Yoshi's Island and the different things there used to be part of the Mushroom Kingdom? Because, I mean, obviously, Australia is essentially just where the devil keeps his pets, so to speak. And, but beyond that, what? What is going on? What is this lesson leading to? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Where are we going with this?
It eventually drifted away and became isolated. Thanks to this, all the species that lived on Australia evolved on their own. Both geologic and climatic events helped to make Australia's wildlife and plants unique. We also see this with Dinosaur Land. There are certain species of dinosaur that are only seen in that specific place. Animals like Blarg, Dino Rhino, Dino Torch, Erie, and Rex. Now this is because of isolation. The dinosaurs that lived in the Mushroom Kingdom probably went extinct, maybe because of a disease or a lack of food. Now the people who lived in Australia were not as advanced as the Europeans when they arrived in 1788. Now this all changed as soon as the Europeans had arrived. The country started to develop way faster. Can you see the pattern here? This also happened to Yoshi's Island. Before the invasion of Bowser, the Yoshis were very primitive.
I don't know, I would say primitive is more of a perspective type of thing, because they just maybe they just lived in harmony with nature, kind of like how Native Americans did. They lived in harmony specifically with nature and always traveled to follow the herds of animals. And yeah, there was some fightings between different tribes, but for the most part, like the overall culture was I don't want to say symbiosis, just more living in peace with nature and not being shackled down to one location until Europeans came in and planted buildings made of wood and insulation.
That's because they missed out on all the advancements that the people of the Mushroom Kingdom and the other kingdoms made. But as soon as Bowser arrived with Peach and shortly after left, they started to develop way faster. We can see this in the later games where the Yoshis have built tree houses, villages and lived together. The Yoshis probably learned a thing or two from the Koopas and from the Toads as soon as they arrived on the island. It would also make sense for Princess Peach to become allies with the Yoshis after they saved her together with Mario.
Maybe it's not quite so much that they developed because they were influenced by the visitors from the Mushroom Kingdom, like Mario and Peach and Bowser and whatnot. Maybe it's more like they are intelligent enough to see, hey, they can come here now, they have the technology to be able to reach us, we need to be able to adapt to them, so that way the allies, like Mario and Luigi and Peach, we can aid them, and potentially fight against Bowser so we don't get trapped in eggs again. That would be an interesting thing.
This also helped their development. Strangely enough, these improvements didn't happen when the Yoshis saved Mario as a baby. But this is probably because they gave baby Mario to the bird, so they never came into touch with the humans or any other people. After the events of Super Mario World, the Yoshis also started to move to other islands and other places. So after all, the invasion of Bowser also had some positive effects, because it helped the development of the Yoshis as a species, and they started to explore the world. Everything is constantly moving, changing, going, and that's how the world evolves.
Well, that is the end of DrWily's video. I almost said Proto Mario because I just have done so many Proto Mario videos. But yeah, okay, I can see where you're going. So the uniqueness of Dinosaur Island is its initial isolation until Bowser and his Koopas invade. It wasn't just Bowser though, because like right at the very beginning, it said that Mario and Luigi were on vacation when Peach got kidnapped. And it's just, well, it looks like Bowser is up to his old tricks again. I forget the exact wording. It's been a long while since I touched the game, but my point here is that you didn't say that, oh, it's a definite that certain dinosaurs were once in the Mushroom Kingdom, they died off, and now they're only on Dinosaur Kingdom. Or on Dinosaur Island. Yeah, but and yeah, like the initial like baby Mario is just, oh, here's I guess kind of like the Jungle Book, where it's just, oh, there's the man cub. The man cub gets raised by wolves, but then has to go on his own eventually, and that's kind of a very long, drawn out thing. As for Mario, he's a baby and remains a baby, and then gets given to the stork, and then the stork takes, hey, go to your parents, whoever Mario's parents are. So the main point of your theory is, like, why are there dinosaurs, specifically on Dinosaur Island, but nowhere else, is because of extreme isolation. I can see that. I can definitely see that. And of course, like, in the line of evolution, creatures will adapt to their environment, so that way they can either find prey for those who are predators, or avoid predators for those who would be prey. Okay, this was an interesting theory, kind of on the origin of the Yoshis, which I guess wasn't the first appearance of Yoshi, like Yoshi's Island, where baby Mario falls in and then the Yoshis save him. And of course they wouldn't that they wouldn't adapt to human society because it's just, here's this one tiny little creature, well, yeah, and then Yoshi saves him and takes him to the store. And then it's like, okay, well, that was an interesting encounter. Never seen one before, never seen one since, until the events of Super Mario World. Yeah, so I pretty much said everything I would want to say throughout this whole thing, and thankfully I was able to get things fixed, because what in the ever-living hell? I don't know what the hell happened with the video, like why the first download got corrupted 5 minutes in, or whatever. I suppose it doesn't really matter too much. Anyway, I definitely got to get this edited together. Thanks to my computer being dead and destitute, and then taking 2 weeks to finally get back to me. Yeah, I've fallen a ways behind, so yeah, I've got to get this edited together as quickly as I possibly can. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one, which I'm probably not gonna be too long before I record the next one of these, so I will hope to catch you there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, hit that bell so you can always be notified whenever I upload another video. Go ahead and follow me on my other social media, linked down in the description, and as always, have fun.